The adventure boating sector is picking up in all kinds of ways and going in all kinds of different directions these days. So it's no surprise to see that at the Dusseldorf Boat Show, there's an entirely new brand dedicated to exactly that. An Italian brand owned by the same company that owns Invictus Yachts, Marco Polo Adventure Yachts, and they're here with two boats, the MP10, an open version, a smaller version, and the MP12, an enclosed version. So that is the boat we're going to take a look at right now. Now, as ever, the first thing to do before we actually jump on board is to take a quick look at the hull. And in tandem with a lot of boats these days, a plumb bow, a relatively fine entry, an absolutely massive bow flare. I'll move round to the front there just to show you how beam forward that section of the hull is. Now, clearly, that's going to be quite useful for splash deflection, but it'll also generate a good bit of extra volume, extra space up there in the forward part of the boat for a decent bow lounge. So we'll move around the back end past the smaller MP10, which adopts the same sort of principles. You'll see we've got drop-down bulwarks there. The MP12 shares that, and it comes as standard, which is quite a thing. Get ourselves up these steps. And another thing you'll see immediately that marks these out as very modern and of the moment is the fact that they're both outboard powered. A twin rig here on the open boat, a triple rig here on the big MP12. There's the terrace we talked about. Obviously there's a second on the starboard side that kind of bookends this central sunbed, which makes plenty of sense. But what also makes plenty of sense is the beam. Even without those bulwarks folded flat, this beam is 4 meters, and on a 12-meter boat, a third of the overall length. That really is quite something for a monohull, so plenty of inboard space. And as for these engines, well, the showboat has a triple rig of 400s. You can also go for triple 300s or 350s. And performance potential should see you moving up towards 50 knots. And that's plenty of performance. Now, it is clear to me right from the start that Marco Polo Yachts is attempting to do things quite differently, and the deck covering kind of reflects that. We've got cork here mixed with rubber and resin, the idea being that it's much easier to clean. It's also more environmentally sustainable, more comfortable underfoot, doesn't get quite so hot, and much simpler to repair apparently, with the additional benefit that if you're on the lower deck and people are walking about up top, the noise transmission down to the lower deck ought to be a little bit more muted, a little bit more refined. Now, as for the layout here, we've got a lovely big roof flare over this section of the boat to keep you sheltered. And what I really like here is that the internal space of that pilot house opens right out at the back end. We've got a clever folding two-part window that shifts itself right up flush with that deck head. And then these aft seats, as you can see, you can reverse the backrest so they face outwards, mount these tables which themselves open out, and you've got easy space here to seat 4 people there and 4 people there for a very nice, sociable, sheltered lunch. You can also, of course, reverse those cushions back so you're facing forward and shut that up so you're sheltered in the conventional fashion, cut off from the outside. And you can reverse these cushions too, just to expand this sunbed lounge and face aft. It makes good use of the space as well. Goes way aft above the engine well to really take advantage of that, and you can of course angle that back up if you need to trim the engines right out of the water at the end of the day. But another way in which they're aiming to be different is with their fabrics, and one of those examples is this. These cushions are space shell apparently, which is designed to stay 20 degrees cooler in direct Mediterranean sunlight than regular cushions. And if you pop your hand on it and just hold it there, I have to say, it really doesn't heat up as you might expect. So that's interesting again, but what's equally interesting before we go up to the bow is the fact that if we just poke our camera in there, there's really not a lot going on in here. We've got a wet bar, you can rig that pretty much however you like, and we've got the helm ahead of that. Aside from that, it's pretty much empty space in there. So I would anticipate that you'll be able to configure that in whatever way you fancy if you talk to the guys at the yard. But for now, what we'll do is head forward past these wide opening side doors that bookend the helm. That's very practical from a seamanship perspective. And so is this actually. If I just point the camera to the side, the gunwale is right up above my hip. It's extraordinarily deep and safe. Excellent grab rails too, and a step up to the bow space And when we get here, well, this is what I'm talking about. It's just struck me, in fact, that they don't just call it a flared bow, they call it an aircraft carrier bow. And if you've seen an aircraft carrier, you'll know what they mean by that, a huge flare, and it generates the internal capacity for this. A couple of proper seat pods facing aft and a sunbed with a cushion that can either enable you to stretch out full length or flip it back up and create a forward-facing bench for 3. So it's a nice little spot for 5 people just to sit and enjoy a glass of wine, separated from the people further aft. There's no table fitting, apparently, and little prospect of specking one, so it's not a place for lunch. If you want that, you need to go further aft and seat yourself at the table. Now, if we make our way back down the starboard side this time, you'll see that we've got a reverse screen, which is very much a kind of commercial, military flavour. Very practical too. Gives you better visibility. It shades the internal saloon better from hot sun. Really practical, and it looks brilliant, I have to say. And while we're here, we'll nip in at the skipper's position and take a look at what's happening here. As I say, really very good visibility indeed. Quite wide stanchions in fairness, but because they're so far forward of the helm, that's not an issue. Lovely wide doors. We've got our joystick here, a couple of 19-inch plotters, but there is room, should you choose, for 3 19-inch plotters. And as an adventure boat, I'd suspect a lot of people will be tempted by that. We got our tabs and our thruster, our twin throttles, and a very stylish wheel. Beautifully built. I've got to say, everything here is beautifully built, in fact. If I spin around, you'll see that they haven't squeezed you together at the helm. There's probably space here for 3 seats, but they've gone for 2 instead, 2 lovely big seats with lots of lumbar support, with bolsters, with a bit of lateral support as well. They're not adjustable fore and aft, but the ergonomics here are pretty good regardless. And in the centre, a couple of cup holders and a little cubby hole for your gear. And if we look up, you'll see we've also got a kind of louvered sunroof that enables you to really adjust the amount of light and air you get coming into this saloon space. I'm not a fan of this finish though, this kind of gloss black grand piano finish all over the dash top as well. I suspect that in spite of that reverse screen, you're going to get a significant amount of glare off that on a bright sunny day. But let's just face forward now and head down the steps, these quite neat space-saving steps to the lower deck, and see what we get down there. A really big space at the entry point with some cabinetry. I think we've got a fridge in here, yeah, a nice big fridge, 130 litres, so you don't have to nip up top for refreshments, and more storage around there. The heads compartment on the starboard side, and very much an open plan layout with a permanent double bed forward. Relatively low slung, but very big. Lots of volume here. And in spite of the fact we've got those walk around decks forward, that dipping deck head, because the bed is set quite low, we've got lots of vertical space, loads of space for you to sit up in bed. And actually at the entry point, if I just spin the camera around, you'll see that even if you're 6'6", you are not going to struggle in here. The volume is very striking indeed. And the quality again is very high. We've got storage on both sides. These fabrics, kind of soft chamois leather style fabrics, lining the bulkheads as well. It's neatly done. A couple of windows with opening port lights, one on either side, and a little letter slot window in the leading edge of that sunbed on the foredeck, just to add a bit of extra light. And on the starboard side, well, our heads compartment feels very fresh and modern. There's good headroom in there again, a decent vanity unit with storage, and a toilet there in the centre, plus a separate shower. Let's see if we can turn on some lights. That's not really what I was after, but it's very stylish anyway. As you can see, there's space for a rain shower up here, and plenty of vertical elevation, even for a big guy. What looks like a seat is not in fact a seat. There's a lip here, as you can see, so that's for your condiments, your shampoos and so on. So it's not huge, but it is very well arranged. And if we face aft, again open plan beneath these steps, what we get is a nice, again very voluminous twin cabin with lots of vertical elevation beneath that saloon deck to sit up in bed. A nice little unit in the centre, plenty of room here to get changed too, plenty of storage. No hull windows, but we do get, if I come forward, a little hatch just out onto the saloon deck, just to give you a little bit of extra light, a little bit of extra air. While we're down here, it's worth mentioning that these bulkheads contain an internal honeycomb structure, which apparently saves about a ton in terms of overall weight. But as you can see with this open plan layout, they are conspicuous by their absence down here. So arguably, a privacy curtain for the permanent double forward or for the guest twin further aft would be an upgrade a lot of people would look to take. That then is the new Marco Polo MP12, the flagship of a new fleet from a new builder that's aiming to tap directly into that adventure boating sector. And in order to nail that imperative, I think it could do with a bit of versatility in terms of that big roof structure for solar panels and also for roof racks to carry various toys along with you on your trip. I think it could also do with some significant flexibility in terms of deck layout, so you can tailor those to the kind of application you've got in mind. But it certainly looks very different, it's certainly very well built, and given that it's tapping directly into a market, the adventure boating market, that is arguably more dynamic than any other in the modern recreational boating industry, it stands every chance of doing very big things indeed. Now, whether you agree with that or not, please do leave your comments in the section below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, make sure you subscribe to the Motorboat and Yachting channel.